What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, the Commish, back again with another video today going over Billions Season 5, Episode 7. The Limitless Sh is what the episode is titled. That is the actual title. And we'll get into why it's titled that, obviously, in the explanation and recap of the episode. But pretty good mid-season finale that they wrapped up. They had to, conclude shooting because of COVID. So they are probably either getting back to shooting or about to get back to shooting, so it's going to be interesting to see the end of this season. But this was officially the mid-season finale, so we're going to recap that and all the implications from the latest head-to-head, seemingly, between Mike and Axe, which is really the climax of this episode. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty. If you're new to the channel, drop down and hit the subscribe button. It really helps out our channel with the growth and just being able to grow within the algorithm that YouTube puts out there, and we get in front of more viewers just like yourself. Only about less than 10% of the people that watch our videos are actually subscribed, so it would do us a ton of help if y'all could drop down, hit that little button right there that says subscribe, and you'll get updates on when we drop all of our latest content. Thank you very much, and we appreciate the support. Let's go ahead and get into it. Billions Season 5, Episode 7. Last week it really ended on Axe talking about this dinner scene, and it started with the dinner scene. And it really wasn't as awkward as kind of I thought it was going to be, or a lot of people probably thought it was going to be. I definitely didn't think it was going to be the opening scene of the episode. But it really set the tone for the episode's themes, I thought. The art, they were talking about art and the meaning of art and how you know when it's done. Wendy and Axe are kind of conflicting a little bit, and Axe says, "What, is it because I'm a washed-up hack?" And that kind of is what I think fueled his little bit of greed by the time that Axe steps on the trading floor and is presented with the Limitless Sh, this pill called Vigilantrix, which is basically the Limitless pill from the Bradley Cooper movie. It just makes you next level focused, like Adderall times 10, I guess. And he takes it and he's absolutely just zoned in. But the problem with this is he's zoned in on a mineral play that actually Taylor is working behind the back and getting other information on, which we'll get into in a second. But I really think that the opening scene has a huge implication in this episode because of the washed-up hack thing. I think Axe was really out to prove a point in this episode that he's not a washed-up hack. And a lot of the actions show this, and we'll get into that. So, with Axe getting into this mineral play, they dump all their assets into this big mineral play, and Axe and his team is on this Vigilantrix, and they're set on this big mineral play. But Wendy and Taylor are actually on the board of directors for this company with none other than Mike Prince, and they're getting word that their mineral supply is being middlemaned and intercepted by basically militias, anti-government militias that are intercepting their tin. And, their only strategy here to get out of it and eventually become profitable in their head is to team up with Mike Prince. They set up a meeting with Mike Prince where Mike actually subsequently eventually tries to buy them out, thinking that they're going to want the short-term gains that they want out. And they kind of see through it a little bit and say, we'll stick around, yada, yada, for the long term. We know we'll take a loss for a few quarters, but we'll stick around. And they were thinking they were going to outsmart Mike. And Wendy warned Axe. She said, if you team up with Mike Prince, you will feel Axe's wrath. And they definitely did. Both of them did, I think, in my opinion. And I will touch on that. So they're going over all this mineral stuff, and they decide to stay in the business with Mike Prince, take a loss, which is something Taylor eventually has to present to Axelrod, so we'll get into. So it all ties together with Taylor and Wendy's play with Mike Prince on this mineral, getting this information on the minerals, that there's a militia intercepting their supply and that they're going to take a huge loss, while all the while Axelrod's team is working on this Vigilantrix Limitless Sh, and they're putting together this play to invest heavily in minerals. Completely opposite of the information that they're getting from basically Mike Prince, from working with Mike Prince. Taylor eventually presents Axelrod like, hey, you're going to take a $3.5 billion loss if you do this mineral play. We've got word that, the Chile government race is going to go against what you think it's going to occur, and you're going to lose $3.5 billion if you do this. Axe pulls his position in complete, utter despair. He doesn't know what to do about it. And Axe is completely torn on that position and what was in his head. And I think he was chasing that washed up hack pursuit. He wanted that pursuit to feel young again. When he was hyping up the drug, it makes you feel like you're 17. It makes your brain think like you're 30 and have the wisdom of a 100-year-old. So, Axe was on one. And I think Taylor really put him in a different space. But then Taylor unveils that she got the info from working with Mike Prince that Mace Carbon was going to take a loss, and he needed to know that. And they were working with Mike Prince on a long play. And this really raged Bobby. Bobby is over the top mad, feeling so betrayed about her working with Mike Prince. Prince... and she's trying to explain, he's going to get us out of this situation. He got this info. He tried to buy us out. We saw through it. And he was like, no, you didn't see through it. He played you, and, we're all fucked. He put that loss on my sheet. That's the bottom line. And Axe feels like it's war. Axe puts his foot down and Taylor asks, is there anything I can tell you that will make you feel differently about my business with Mike Prince? And no, it will not. That's how he responds. And, she felt the wrath. That's for sure. Another person who felt the wrath of Bobby Axelrod this episode was Wendy. Axe at this dinner at the beginning had mentioned a couple times he wanted to see Tanner's art. He's wanted to see Tanner's art for episodes. His guy's on his freaking payroll. And he's hooking up with his shrink. So... kind of weird, but let's just say, and he won't show him his art. So Axe basically sets up a viewing that against Tanner's will, and sets up actually a sabotage on Wendy's love pursuit with Tanner. While at this viewing, cameos from CC Sabathia, by the way, shout out, big sports fans, so we see all the sports cameos. But also, a high-end female buyer approaches Tanner about the art, talks about how she sees the beauty in biology, in birth and death in one of his paintings, and says she has a huge fund, she loves collecting, and, Tanner really liked that, and they seem to get touchy-touchy and walked away, and Wendy feels very lonely, and Axelrod planted that for sure. Axelrod walks up, he goes, shame. Great taste in art and a deep pocketbook. He sabotaged Wendy very hard on the relationship with Tanner there. And Wendy looked very alone, betrayed, like maybe she was not near outplaying Axe at the level she thought she was. With all the, you come see the artwork yourself, or you talk to him, or I'm not your this, or whatever. Axe really just kind of put his foot down and said, I'm going to come force me to see the art, and then I'm going to also show you that you don't mean anything to this guy, because once again, I think Axe is just super jealous. From my premise in last week's video, I think Axe is super jealous of anything that Wendy, relationship wise, and I think he wants to be that figure for Wendy. I really do. That's my opinion. I think he loves Wendy in a completely different way, a very euphoric way, but I don't know. It's a little odd. Wendy felt the wrath, for sure. Wendy felt the wrath. And I loved how at the end of the episode, he's like, I'm going to destroy Michael Thomas Aquinas Prince and everything around him. And they're ending with Metallica, that was the Hardwired to Self-Destruct by Metallica. I loved that, bringing back the Metallica vibes for Bobby Axelrod. You love it because that was the origins of the show back in the early days. He was all about Metallica. He's all about going to war, and he's about to go to war with Mike Prince. And then the last thing on this episode, of course, Chuck is pursuing an organ donor for his father. He goes through a former person that he was prosecuting, Phil, and gets a sketchy doctor, an underground doctor, to have a procedure to get Chuck's dad ready to go on the wait list. He actually offers to get him an organ from a small kid who needs $38,000. Chuck's having none of it, and Chuck goes out of his way and figures out a way to find a donor. He says he will be able to find a donor, and after even testing his whole freaking workforce. That's a horrible etiquette from Chuck, by the way. A very desperate move. I understand the measures, saving your father, but testing your whole work unit, disguising it as blood donations to see if they could be a match, and planning on confronting them to donate their organ for your father. Very shady business and desperation times for Chuck Rhodes in this episode, but at the end of the episode, I loved what he did. He paid off the full price as if he was to give them the kidney. He says, just get my dad ready to go through the door. I will get a kidney for my dad and give this $38,000 to that little girl and make sure she gets it. So I loved that, and I hope those scumbags don't put it right in their pocket. I know it's TV, but there is some feel-good moments in every TV show, and that was one of them. Great job, Chuck. And on the other side, Axe is not getting his bank. Chuck sabotaged Krakow's spot on the Treasury board by saying that they are investigating the cabinet, and he actually goes in and basically says, I won't be a part of this, yada yada. So the bank charter won't be going through. That was Chuck's real strings he was pulling this episode. He got Todd Krakow paranoid enough to snap in a meeting and got himself kicked off the Treasury, and his bank charter signature is no longer valid for Mr. Bobby Axelrod. So we'll see if he's able to get his bank back. We'll see the war between Mike Prince and Bobby Axelrod. I'm super hyped for the end of this season. I thought this season was pretty solid so far. Season 4 lost me for most of it. This season right here has been pretty dynamite. The writing's been awesome, little corny at times, but I would, if you haven't watched Billions and you are stuck at home, you're working from home or whatever you're doing, you're not going out during these times, catch up on Billions. Showtime has a 30-day free trial. There's only 7 episodes in season 5, and the first 3 seasons are absolutely dynamite. You won't regret it. Go check out Billions season 5. This was the mid-season finale. I will come out with some theory videos on what the battle between Mike and Axe will be, what Wendy's role will be, and Wendy versus Axe, basically, and Taylor. What's Taylor's position going to be going forward now that Axe released the wrath on her? Guys, let me know y'all's thoughts on this season. Let me know y'all's thoughts on the recaps, and if y'all want me to keep them up going forward. We've got a ton of support on the channel so far. We really appreciate it, and I really enjoy doing all these videos over these shows and getting all the feedback in the comment box. So drop down, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for more. I am out of here. I will be back with more theory videos. Don't you worry, I'm not going anywhere. I will be on here multiple times a week with new content. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back.